Hey everyone. All right, my name is Bolade Adeyemi, and we're back on the cloud computing fundamentals for cloud engineers and DevOps. And the other time we were, introducing ourselves to Python, and I hope that we've all gotten a hold of what Python really looks like. And right now, without any further ado, because we're on a live stream, I don't want us to waste any single time. So let's dive right into the lesson for the day. Today, we'll be talking about AWS, which means Amazon Web Services. Okay, so while I start talking, uh, if you're on the stream, you can drop your name and say, Hi, I'm here, I'm present, good evening, just say something, and then do well to hit the subscribe button if you have not. Trust me, that's the least you can do. And then also, let's also do well to like the video so that the YouTube algorithm can pick it up and make it more visible. All right, so let's dive right into the topic in front of us, AWS. Okay, so let's go straight into the presentation. Okay, right there on your screen, you should be seeing some boxes, which says analytics and all that. So, but then AWS generally is a cloud service which provides all these resources that I'm showing to you on your screen right there. Okay, so AWS is a very vast computing, services that actually offers all these services from analytics to application integration to blockchain to business applications to cloud financial management to compute. Of course, you already know what compute means, like EC2 instances, and then customer enablement, containers, databases like RDS, developer tools, end user computing, front end web and mobile, game tech, Internet of Things, machine learning and artificial intelligence, management and governance, media, migration and transfer, networking and content delivery, quantum technologies, robotics, satellites, and we have security, identity, and compliance, and then we have storage. So, out of all these things, of course, we are likely to touch, some the key aspects, some things you can easily go read up yourself, right? But then to move ahead, we have to really start from the fundamentals so that we can touch the key areas. Key areas like compute, key areas like storage, key areas like robotics. Robotics. Now, I don't think robotics is a key area. Key area like networking. I meant to say networking. Key areas like networking, and then we have storage, you have security, identity, and compliance. That is another key area, right? So, some other key areas that might not be mentioned, but then trust me, this one of the things or some of the things we're going to cover. And then in this AWS, we don't want to spend too much time talking. We can just do that for the introductory aspect, but then majorly we're going to do drive, right straight into the practical area so that we can uh, have a good grasp of what it's like to know AWS. After this AWS series, we should really, really, really be very good, at least at AWS, and know some nitty gritties of some of the things we need to learn right there in AWS. All right, so I'll dive into the introductory aspect. All right, so uh, for introduction, we talking about what is cloud computing. All right, somebody would say, why was he talking about cloud computing? Well, then, of course, that is where it all started from. So let's see. You can see this documentation is actually an official, you can see, overview of AWS. So we just have to quickly talk very briefly on cloud computing. All right, so we already know what cloud computing is, right? We know that cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power, databases, storage, applications, and other IT resources through a cloud service platform via the internet with pay as you go pricing. So this already answers somebody's question. It gives you a very direct meaning of what cloud computing is. Whether you're running applications that share photos to millions of mobile users or you're supporting the critical operation of your business, a cloud service platform provides rapid access to flexible and low cost IT resources. So you can see this is what makes cloud computing very interesting. So with cloud computing, you don't need to make a large upfront investment in hardware or spend a lot of times on heavy lifting of managing that hardware. Instead, you can provision exactly the right type and the size of computing resources you need to power your newest bright idea or operate your IT department. All right, and of course, you can always access as many service that you need. All right, so cloud computing provides a simple way to access servers, storages, databases, and a broad set of applications over the internet. You know, and then we have cloud service platform such as AWS that we're talking about right now. Amazon Web Services owns and maintains the network connected hardware required for these application services while you provision and you use what you need via a web application. So what we're just saying is that AWS has all these resources, just like I showed us on the first picture that you saw on your screen. All right, so 6 good advantages of cloud computing. Let me just quickly run through them. Trade fixed expense for variable expense. Instead of having to invest heavily on data centers or servers before you know how you're going to use them, you can pay only what you consume, you know, and or you pay only for how much you consume, right? Benefits from massive economies of scales. By using cloud computing, you can achieve a lower variable cost than you can get on your own. So it's actually a very good benefit from economic of scale. So before usage of hundreds of thousands of customers, before getting to that level, AWS, can actually achieve higher economies of scales, which translate into lower pay as you go services. Before we continue, you already know that AWS is not the only service cloud service provider. So, but then because we have to narrow it down to AWS, everything I'm going to be talking about has to be AWS. And I hope you are getting what I've been saying. Another one is it's stop guessing capacity. There's a way AWS can help you calculate your capacity or how much of storage you have used, increase speed and agility. Obviously, in a cloud computing environment, new IT resources are only a click away. Everything is in your finger within your grasp. Just have internet, and then you're already flying high there. So, which means that you reduce the time to make those resources available to your developers from weeks to just minutes. So, this results in a dramatic increase in agility for the organization. So the cost and time it takes to experiment and develop is what significantly lower. And then another thing is stop spending money running and maintaining data centers. All right. So with the traditional way things are being run earlier, everybody needs a data center, but now you don't need a data center to run a very vast business because AWS will help you handle everything. So cloud computing lets you focus on your customers, rather than on the heavy lifting of racking, stacking, powering servers. You might know some people might be wondering what is racking, what is stacking. Racks are just names of the ions where servers are kept. Stacking is the way servers are being arranged, and then powering servers. So you can imagine you having to manage your infrastructure. Those are the benefits of cloud computing services, and then go global in minutes. So easily deploy your application in multiple regions around the world with just a click away. This means that you can provide low latency and better experience for your customer at minimal cost. All right, so let's move straight into types of cloud computing. I think we know all this earlier, so let's go to deployment model. We have the cloud, we have the private cloud, we have the hybrid, right? So I don't think I have to do all this. And then global infrastructure. So let's go right into it. So let's talk about global infrastructure. AWS Cloud Global Infrastructure, cloud infrastructure is built around AWS regions and availability zone. So there's something called regions and availability zone in AWS. So an AWS region is physically located in the world where we have multiple availability zone. So availability zone consists of one or more discrete data centers. So data center is what is called availability zone. Data center is where data are stored or stacked, right? So each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity hosted in separate facilities. So this availability zone offer you the ability to operate, production application and databases that are more highly available, right? And then fault tolerant, scalable than it would be possible for a single data center. So that is what the AWS global infrastructure looks like. All right. So another thing you need to quickly know is that AWS offers security and compliance, and that's what we're talking about. Security now. Cloud security at AWS is the highest priority. So, because it is like a free space where so many people come to work, it is, assuming we talk about the models, you already agree with me that AWS is as a public service. So, there's so many people right there on the line, and then you just have to, work with what we what the only thing you know is yourself. You don't know the millions of people that are accessing AWS in a single minute. So but then the only thing you can concentrate on, all you know, is yourself. So but then you can make yourself secured by looking into security, and this is one of the things we have to quickly talk about when we're talking about AWS. We can't but talk about security. So cloud security at AWS is highest priority, and organization embrace scalability and flexibility, AWS is also helping them evolve security, identity, and compliance into key business enabler. So, of course, one of the things that you have to understand is that because AWS also knows that they are very large and a lot of people accesses them, they give customers advantage of security. So, an advantage of AWS cloud is that it allows you to scale and innovate while maintaining a secure environment. So, we're talking intricately on how AWS does all this, security later on in the course. But then let's go to benefits of AWS security. Obviously, keep your data safe. It meets compliance requirements. It saves you money because, of course, when your data is safe, you don't lose it, and then you'll be able to scale very, very well. Then compliance, there's also compliance. It helps you understand the robust control in place at AWS for security and data protection. AWS helps you know what and what you should know. There is a way you should, there's a way you have to comply with AWS so as to really know how to do well on their platform. So, and there's something called shared responsibility model. All right, shared responsibility model, tells you that AWS is not the only one that has something to do, that has a responsibility. Everybody has a responsibility. That is what we have to know. You can see security compliance. Is a shared responsibility between AWS and the what customer. So as someone who wants to use AWS, you have to know that aside the fact that AWS is there, you also have a responsibility. And this shared model can help relieve the customer's operational burden as AWS operates, manages, and controls the components from the host operating system virtualization down to the security, of the facility. But the customer needs to assume responsibility and management of the guest operating system, including updates, security patches, and other associated application software, as well as configuration of AWS provided security group firewalls. So, you as a customer, you have to know that it is not just AWS that has work to do, you also have work to do, and that is why it is called shared responsibility model. And then the AWS are all these assurance programs. You have all these SOC 1, FISMA, PCI, ISO 9001, and all that. All right, so now let's move very briskly into AWS services by category. Um, I already mentioned all this where we talked about all the categories with those pictures, so I don't think I need to talk about them. So let me see. Before let me see. I would talk about some of them, right? But then let's quickly go into this first. Accessing AWS services. So now, AWS Management Console can be accessed, via a command line. Okay, so command line interface, which is a unified tool to manage AWS services. We just want tool to download and configure. You can control AWS services from command line and automate them through scripts. Another one is AWS Cloud Shell, which can be found next to the search bar in AWS console. We'll check all these things later on, and then can also access via SDK, which is software development kits. The AWS SDK simplify using AWS services in application with application programming interface API tailored to your programming language or platform. All right, so let's quick check some of the services AWS provides. We've talked about some of them earlier, but let's quickly have an overview. We have analytics. AWS provides a comprehensive set of analytics services that fits all your data analytics needs and enables organizations of all sizes and industry to reinvent their business with data. So from storage and management, data governance action, experience, AWS offers purpose-built services that provides the best, price, performance, scalability, and lower cost. The services is described after the diagram. So you can see AWS offers analytics, and this is the breakdown. We have interactive query, big data processing, operational and log analytics. See, we're talking about all this so that you can understand what you can use AWS to do. You have to really know what and what we are trying to, you have to have an overview of what we're trying to learn so that you can already, so that even if we did not get there as along the line, if we did not get to where you think we're going to get to, you already know the course outline. So this introductory part is helping you know our course outline, is helping you know how far we will be going, or how far AWS can cover. So of course we don't know how far we would go, right? So we'll try to streamline to the most important ones, but then I just still need to mention all this. So under analytics, we have big data processing. You we have operational and log analytics. We have real-time analytics, and then we have all this, stuff, uh, all this stuff that are listed. We have business intelligence, data integration, and so many of them. Like that, you can see all these services, Amazon and Athena. See, I'm just mentioning them. This, if you think you want to go into analytics, then you would obviously need to go deeply into all this. We have Amazon Athena, Amazon Cloud Search, Amazon Data Zone, Amazon EMR, Amazon FinSpace, Amazon Kinesis, Amazon Data for Firehose, OS, Amazon Managed Services for Apache Flink, Kinesis data streams, Kinesis video streams, OpenSearch, blah blah blah, Amazon Redshift, Quick Sites, Clean. So you can imagine the the how much Amazon has. You can see I keep scrolling how much Amazon has only on analytics. So for that already tells you that Amazon is a very, very broad space, right? All right, let's go to the next one, application integration. Application integration on AWS is a suite of services that enables communication, between decoupled components within microservice, distributed system, and serverless application. You do not refer, you don't need to refactor your entire architecture to benefit. Decoupling application at any scales can to reduce the impact of changes, making it easier to update and faster to release new features. All right, so what we're talking about is that there's a way AWS provides this service called application integration, where you can integrate some other services, into your own service. So that is, there are other applications that are not even created by AWS that can be integrated just to meet your own need. Let's assume that you need Microsoft Word in your AWS. AWS has a way you can link Microsoft Word into what you're trying to do, even though it is not part of their services. So, these are part of the things, these are part of the application, integration, Amazon Events Bridge, Amazon SNS, Amazon SQS, like that. So many of them like that. You can see app flow, data interchange, events bridge, MQ, all explained intricately. All right. So obviously we drop in, you know, this material for some of us that needs to, read. Some people like the full knowledge, so and I wouldn't want to deprive you of it. So you can always get this material even online, and then you know it's just so amazing. You can see cloud financial management. AWS has so many things to offer. So I'm trying to scroll to the part that will be more, the part that would need more, so that I don't waste our time. All right, compute. All right, so we are here. Compute. So let's talk about compute. AWS offers compute, and millions of organizations run diverse workload using AWS compute services. So each service is described, you know, after the diagram. So to help you understand what AWS compute is, you can see we have EC2, AWS EC2 services such as AWS EC2, AWS EC2, auto scaling, image builder, light sail, AWS containers services. We have AWS ECX. You can see ECS anywhere, ECS, EKS, that's Elastic Kubernetes. You can see serverless, we have Lambda, we have Fargate. AWS have all these compute services on premises, local zone, outwards. Then it also have cost optimization, and it also has elastic load balancing. So that is for the what? That is for the compute services. So we can easily get to know all these things by going ahead to read. But then I would obviously still dwell on the compute later on. But then we have to move. Let's just go into the next one right there. All right. So uh, let me see. Just give me a minute. Let's scroll. Let me see. Just give me a minute. Let's see if we can have our titles so that we don't waste too much of time. Okay, so we can easily so let's go to containers. All right, containers. So containers. So this is AWS also have containers. AWS offers services that gives you a secure space to store and manage your container images, orchestration that manages when and where your container runs. So of course you cannot you likely already know what container is when we talk about Docker images and all that. So you can see that AWS also has where that can help you manage them and even where it runs. And then you can see option available to run containers on AWS. You can see we have AWS App Runner, AWS Lambda, Light Sales Batches, ES, that's Elastic, cloud services, classic Kubernetes, EKS, EC2, and all that. All these stuff, you can easily run containers. All right, so let me move to the next one. I have databases. So databases, AWS databases offer a high performance, secure, and reliable foundation to power the generative AI solutions and data driven applications that drive value for your business and customers. You can imagine the varieties that AWS offers. AWS also offer databases, and when it comes to AWS, these are the databases that are available. We have relational, we have non-relational. Under the relational, we have AWS RDS, which is a relational database, and then Amazon. We have Amazon RDS, and we have Amazon Aurora. And then we have for the non-relational, we have Key Amazon Dynamo DB. We have Document Dynamo Document DB. We have the one for caching, AWS Elast Cache. We have um, AWS Memory DB, Graph for Graph. You can see AWS has so many things. It has a wide range of things. All right, let's move straight to I don't want us to waste time on that. Let's move straight to networking. So let's quick check that. So networking and content delivery. So AWS offers a broad set of networking and content delivery services that provides the highest level of reliability, security and performance in the cloud, right? So AWS offers networking services. So each service is described after, of course, let's check the diagram. So you can see we have AWS, we have VPC, we have AWS VPC Virtual Private Cloud, and then AWS Transit Gateway Private Link. But these are the networking foundations. So we're obviously going to talk about VPC, and then you can see cloud and hybrid connectivity. You have direct connect, direct connect, set site link, AWS Cloud WAN, AWS out to site VPN, edge networking, and content delivery. We have AWS CloudFront, AWS Global Accelerator, AWS Route 53. You can see this now amazing application networking, elastic load balancing, AWS VPC Latix, and then the last one we have networking, security, and remote access, AWS network firewalls, AWS verified access, AWS client VPN. You can imagine that AWS has so many things to offer. All right, so let me move away from that. I'll go to security, and then I think we'll be left with storage. All right, security, identity, and compliance. AWS is architected to be the most secure global cloud infrastructure on which to build, migrate and manage applications and workload. So you see, because one of the reasons why AWS is so secured is because it's been up for a long time, even far, far, far before Azure and Google came up. They've been on ground for a long time. So they've updated and upgraded a lot of things that made them stood out, over the years. So AWS, has the most global secured cloud infrastructure. And let's check some of the services. We have under security, we have AWS IAM, which is Identity and Management Access. We have Amazon Cognito, AWS RAM IAM. Under networking and protection, we have Firewall Manager, Network Firewall, AWS Shield, AWS WFA, AWS. Under data protection, we have AWS Marquee, AWS KMS, that's Key Management Services, AWS Cloud HSM, AWS Certificate Manager, AWS Private Certificate Authority, AWS Security Manager. Then under detection and response, we have AWS Config, AWS CloudTrail. See, you can imagine detection, like AWS can help you track whatever activity is going on in your cloud, right? AWS Amazon Inspector, it can inspect AWS Security Hub, AWS Detective, you can imagine, AWS Guard Duty, AWS Security Lake, and then for governance and compliance, AWS Organization, AWS Control Tower, AWS Artifact, AWS Audit Manager. So you can see AWS in action, so many things. And then let's go to storage. This is the last thing I'm talking about, you know, just superficially, before we now go really straight into deeper topics. All right, so AWS provides a broad portfolio of storage, uh, services with deep functionalities for storing, accessing, protecting, and analyzing your data. So let's check the diagrams we have. AWS has a very nice one for data storage. So you can see AWS backup, AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery. You can see AWS EBS, AWS Transfer Family, AWS Snow Family. For data storage, for file, AWS FSF, AWS EFS. You see, for objects, AWS S3, AWS Glacier. You can see, and then you can see AWS Storage Gateway, AWS Data Sync, AWS Amazon File Cache. You can see data at work, analytics, machine learning, virtualization, mastery. So AWS has all this stuff, that can really, really, assist. You can see it's almost inexhaustible. So that is, like an overview of what AWS, you know, is all about. So, and I hope that we have, learned. I hope we've learned a lot, or should I say, I hope we've learned something. So at this point, we already know, what and what would you be, what and what we're expecting, right, to meet, right there in the AWS, right? So we'll just move ahead to the next thing on the agendas, which is we'll be talking about AWS account, management. AWS account management. So, of course, before you do anything on AWS, you need an AWS account, right? So we need to quickly look at that is where we'll be starting from, and then I think after then we'll be going to we're talking about let me see, just give me a minute. We're talking about uh, probably we're talking about EC2, so where we would go live into practical aspects, and then we're talking about maybe cost management next, and then we're talking about the security, we're talking about X3 bucket, we're talking about KMS, we're talking about RDS. So we're talking about how to apply all these things. We're talking about networking, like vast AWS networking on everything we have to know on AWS. All right. So, but then for now, we'll be quickly looking at AWS account, and that will help us to know about more about how AWS account works. All right. So let's dive right into AWS account management. Okay. So next thing we're seeing is AWS account management. All right. So see AWS account management. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to pull up the account management. Okay. While I fix that, while I try to fix that, let's just hold on. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to pull up, you know, I'm trying to pull up the stuff that was needed. Uh, I want to talk about AWS Cloud, AWS account management. So and that is what I'm trying to pull up. So and I hope that would see it in a short time, in matter of minutes. So let's just give me some minutes. Okay, so that is it. AWS account management. All right, very good. So let's go ahead and quickly talk about it. So, what is AWS account? Um, so, AWS an AWS account represents a formal business relationship you establish with AWS. Okay, so I want to believe that every one of us on this live stream already open AWS. If you think you need another video on how to open AWS account, I can easily help with that, but then I don't think it's necessary. I have thousands of videos talking about how to open an AWS account, right? So AWS account represents a formal business relationship you establish with AWS. So when you manage your AWS resources on an AWS account, and your account provides identity management capabilities for access, for billing, and then each what's the name? Each each account, AWS account, has a unique ID which differentiates it from other AWS accounts. So you have your own AWS account. I have my own AWS account. So let me see if I can log in into AWS account. Let me try to log in into my AWS account. Just give me a minute so that you'd see my unique ID. Everyone has their unique ID. Just give me a minute. AWS, let's say console. Okay, very good. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to log in into my AWS, uh, you know, so that we can all see my own unique, ID. Just give me a minute, so that we can all see my own unique ID. Okay, I'm still trying to log in. We're still right there on the live stream. I'm trying to quickly log in into my AWS, account. So, but then while it's preparing, I think we have to just keep going, right? Just so that we can. I don't want us to, you know, waste any time. All right. So, your cloud resources and data are contained in an AWS account. So, your account acts as your identity and access management isolatory boundary. So your account also have fundamental part for accessing AWS services, which is resources container. Your AWS account is a basic container for all the resources you are going to create as a customer. Then there's also security boundary, which has been created for you. So look at this picture. We have your account, security boundaries, all your resources you use, and then this is your identity that determines what your roles and then your access, and then you can see your policy right there. All right. So one of the features of AWS accounts, once you have an account, you can your account is a default means by which AWS costs are allocated. So once you have an account, you can see that that is why they will not open an account for you if you don't have your details, I mean your payment details ready. They would want to, open an account for you because they believe that once you have an account, you should be chargeable, right? Like they should be able to charge you, right? That is the point. You can't just have an account without them having a means, right, to be able to charge you. So that is one of the things you have to know about. That's one of the things you have to know about your cloud account. So another thing you have to know is that your cloud accounts have a unit of isolation. So, which means that it provides security, provides access, billing boundaries for your AWS resources, can help you achieve resources autonomy and what and isolation. Okay, so every resources provision within your account are logically, isolated. They're isolated from resources provision on other account. No matter everybody that has your AWS account, everybody's account and resources are well isolated. My account resources cannot mix with yours. I cannot make payment and then they mistakenly use it to pay you. You see, so that is one of the things you should know. Another thing you should know is that uh, it mirrors your business workload. So you can use multiple accounts to group workload with a common business purpose in distinct account. So as a result, you can align ownership and decision making with those accounts and avoid dependencies and conflict with how workloads on other accounts are secured and managed. So depending on your overall business model, depending on how big your business is, you should know that AWS has all everything, you know, has everything for you that you can use to based on your model. So it doesn't matter based on your model, AWS has everything that you need to be able to run your account successfully. All right, so let's move ahead into, I think I'm finding it difficult to log into my AWS account. But then I think that uh, I'll be looking at that some other time. Right. So if you are a first timer, your first step is to sign up. Of course, I don't think I have to cover this. There's something called root user. Once you sign up, you'll be the root user. Then you might have to activate your multi-factor authentication. You need to secure your account, and then you can actually now create a user, and then you give the user some administrative, some administrative right. Okay, so that is one of the things you can do with your AWS. So, and then you can see your account uh, works seamlessly with the following services. Some of the services you already have. Lately, you have AWS, then you have identity and access management. Then you'll be able to also organize your services. If your company is large or likely to grow, you want to set up multiple AWS accounts that reflect, so you can easily even have multiple AWS accounts based on your business model. And the reason why we're talking like this is because you is either you might be using AWS for your business, or you might be helping another person manage his own business. So you have to know that AWS can be used in all these kind of ways. So using root user account. So once you create a AWS account, you begin with one sign-in identity. So which which has complete access to all the services. All right. So that is what is called root user. I'm finding it difficult to sign in, but then once I'm signed in, I'll be able to show you what root user is. In fact, when you want to log in, it will tell you to ask you if you are a root user or not, because it has to. They have to be sure that whether you're the root user or not. So because there can be root user and there can be another created user. So this root user is accessed by signing with the email address and the password you use to create the account. So, but then the AWS recommends that you don't have to use your root user for all tasks. The AWS recommend that you only use them to perform tasks that are very very high, you know, but you can actually create something called IAM user, AIAM, so user, so which you can be used to do some other, activities, right? So that is it. So, and then talking about uh, configuring, yeah, I think we've talked about that. Let's quickly move into uh, security. Of course, we've already, like we have been saying, the AWS security is very important, and they are also trying to sensitize everyone that wants to use the services. That look, this is a shared responsibility model, and it's not just us; it's about you. So security of the cloud. AWS is responsible for protecting the infrastructure that runs AWS services in the cloud. So once you create an account, AWS is already responsible for protecting your services. AWS also provides you with services that you can use securely. You know, but then you have a responsibility to secure your own things inside the cloud. So that's what we call security in the cloud. Responsibility is determined by AWS services that you use. And you're also responsible for other factors, including the sensitivity of your data, your company's requirement, applicable laws. Of course, you can set it any way you want. All right. So, and then you can also monitor your account. These are the things you should know. And these are also things you should, when you're trying to get a job as a cloud engineer, these are the things you should suggest to your company. Please don't always assume that everything is good. Whenever you have opportunity to be somewhere as a cloud engineer, a DevOps, these are one of the things you should say. These are even some of the ways they would know that you're a professional, because you are mentioning the important things uh, which will help them to keep running for a long time. So these are the things. Remember, we mentioned AWS Cloud Trail the other time, so it can help to keep tab on the account. So monitoring is an important part of maintaining the reliability, availability, and performance of AWS account management and other AWS services. AWS provides the following monitoring tools to watch account management, report when something is wrong, and then take automatic action when appropriate. So you can imagine if you're working with a very large organization and you are not talking about monitoring. So then, if anything happens, you would put the whole organization in a mess. So that is why we're hammering on all this. You can see AWS CloudTrail captures API logs and related events, made by or on behalf of AWS account. It writes the log files to AWS X3, which is simple storage services bucket that you specify. So there's a way you can set it up. It helps you identify the user and account, that even the IP that access, or who does what. Who does what. If a file is missing, who deleted it. CloudTrail has everything. All the logs. So, and then you can see AWS Events Bridge. It adds additional automation to your AWS services by responding automatically to system events such as application availability issues or resource changes. So events from AWS services are delivered to Event Bridge in near real time. And you can write simple rules to indicate which events are of interest to you and which automated actions to take when an event matches a rule. So you can easily, based on what you want, you can easily say, okay, do this, do that. When this happens, do this. When that happens, do that. All right. So that will be it for every other thing is things you can easily read. You know, for you can easily read yourself. You can troubleshoot. You can close your account. Doesn't matter. You can always, do all this. All right. So uh, I want to believe that we understand. If you're understanding what we've been doing so far, you can just say, I get it, I get it, I get it. So, like I said, today is introduction, and trust me, I believe that we've been keeping tab on everything that has been talked about. So I would be pegging it here today. Please, if you have any question whatsoever, you can quickly, drop the question. Please, you can drop your question, drop but then don't drop it on the live chat, drop it on the comment section. There is live chat, there is comment section. The live chat we erase immediately after the live is over, but the comment section will always be there. Or better still, you wait till the live chat is over before you drop your questions. So if you have further questions on these fundamentals of AWS, you can easily drop it right there in the comment section or on our WhatsApp group. Right there, I would answer all the questions, and even the one you drop in the comment section, I would also give an answer to it. All right. So before we go, let's know that the next time we're talking about AWS would have to do practical. It has to be a practical session, and so sorry I had difficulties logging in into my AWS. I don't know why, but then of course I'll fix it so that we can be ready for practical in the next class. I hope we got everything well. Before we go, like I used to say, if you have been on this live stream until now, you should, the least you can do is to subscribe. If you have not, then of course you can like, so that the YouTube will make it more visible, and then you can also share, and then you can even turn on a notification bell, so that you can always get noted whenever we are live. All right, so I hope that we've had a nice time. I'll be expecting our responses, I'll be expecting questions, and I'll be expecting feedbacks. All right, let's have a good time. I hope we really enjoy the rest of our day. All right, see you in the next class.